We've got the World Cup of AgTech sitting on the stage here. The Thrive Accelerator, we run an annual program where we reach out worldwide to find the best entrepreneurs and leaders in the AgTech area. And I'm proud to say that we've got 3 of our top finalists this year. I'm the minority on the stage, as you can kind of notice, and I'm delighted to welcome the ladies here. We had over 140 companies apply to be part of our program this year from 40 different countries around the world. And I wanted to ask the ladies to give you a little bit of an intro in terms of their story and how they started their companies, and give you a little bit about their technology. So maybe I'll start with Miku here.
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm glad to be here, to be part of this audience. For me, the journey was very different. I grew up in India, further up on northern part of India, on a small farmholder community. And we used to own lots and lots of mango farms. So I hope the audience here at least likes mango to some extent. The thing is that growing up, it was part of it, but I didn't really appreciate how complex it is to grow something. Right, I was the consumer at that point. As I grew up and started becoming a technologist, that was when I started connecting the dots that maybe it's about time that technology applied correctly can solve some of the complex challenges which we are all facing today as a community. And it might have been obvious for someone, but the moment that clicked, that set my path from that point onwards, and I started AgShift specifically to address food wastage, because you see 2 different paradigms. From where I was, it was more of a food scarcity, and then when I spent time here, it was more of a food wastage, and it was very easy for me to see how we could solve that.
And Zumi, I'm proud of you, from Ireland.
Thank you. So basically, I grew up in China, and I came to Ireland and did my PhD in biotechnology. Mainly it's focusing in environmental and agriculture. So after my PhD, I worked for Pfizer, which is cross sectors, right, for drug discovery. So 6 years of there, and I have my children. So my parents came to Ireland, visit me, and every time they tell me, Xiumei, you have to quit your job. You need to start your business, because my parents always in their entrepreneurship and in business, and they said, okay, what you do is you can make dumplings. So and I thought, okay, I do have that spirit, want to start a company, and I told them, okay, I can do something better. So I think in 2013, I went to China with a kind of trade mission with Irish government, and when I was there, I very kind of shocked about the environment and the impact Arab land with the pollution, and there's no actions, no laws, no nothing against that. And I looked at my parents, I said, okay, how about you just stay in Ireland with me and we'll have a clean food and something like that. They said, no, we need to stay here, this is about our culture. So I decided, okay, I have the background, I have a team, have the background. I came back to Ireland, start this company, and use our technology to prevent pollutants going to our crops, such as arsenic and cadmium, to protect food safety. And of course, we use China as our first market to prove this, and to impact my families and my friends over there. And also, I'm happy. My children actually go to China every year as well. So that's a passion, and my thought have to solve some problem that impact our people, and also it can be applied globally as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Mariana and I'm from Brazil. I'm daughter of farmers, so I grew up very close to their daily challenges and lack of labor force and difficulties to make day-to-day decisions, having to go every day to the field to figure out what to do. And in the past years, we have seen an increasing pressure from pests, from disease, water shortage, the buyers pressuring us to be more sustainable. And my dad was still making his decisions based on his intuition, and our neighbors always talking to the dealers to know what's going on in the market. And I wanted to change that, and that's why I created AgroSmart, to help farmers like my dad have more confidence on decision making, especially in a scenario where tropical agriculture is so complex. We have to be looking to so many different things and we have such a lack of infrastructure. So we created the main digital agriculture platform for Latin America, where we have a long communication range network to collect real-time data from the fields, even if you don't have cell phone signal or internet. And from that point, we are building recommendation models for farmers for irrigation. We have our own weather forecast, and now working on predict disease and pests.
Excellent, thank you. So your customers today are farmers and growers, and I think in the United States there's 2 million farmers. 86% of them are men, probably close to I might be young actually in the farming world. But tell me about your technology and what it's like doing business with the ag leaders, ag companies here in the US and obviously in Brazil and China. Maybe Miko, I'll put you. Tell me your favorite question.
So I have a very blue tech background. So I've all 15 years before starting AgShift, which is an ag tech company, I did a lot of different stuff around, mobile, Internet of Things, sensors, all that kind of thing. Driven by passion, I started AgShift. So first 6 months, it was new kid on the block, and I was trying to absorb as much as I can to understand the space, what I'm getting into. And given that, I'm in Valley and a lot of farms are there in Salinas and Capay and Central Valley, I just used to drive. I would just drive and show up at farms. And that was my market research, because I strongly believed that this is farming. I cannot do it in my office with my AC on. That much I knew because of my background. So I would show up to these farms, and I clearly remember this moment where I was waiting for the farm manager. I didn't have any kind of appointment. Somebody said, there is a farm manager here, you can talk to him. So I waited there for almost half an hour, 1 hour, and then he came from somewhere and he said, are you lost? And that thing is so clear in my mind, that perception. And obviously it repeated, right? It wasn't first time. Every time I would show up, first question would be, do you need some help? Are you trying to go somewhere? It was in a very cordial way, but the question was, what are you doing here, right? That was it. But as we started talking, as I stood there and I explained what I'm doing, it started to open up. It's like this wall, and you keep gently nudging. Eventually it opens up. But that was a very enlightening experience for me, because I couldn't figure out, was it because of who I am? Was it because of what I brought? Or was it because I randomly showed up, right? But none of it mattered. Eventually, I stood there long enough that I got the information I wanted. That was my journey. So I said, okay, it can only get easier from this point onwards. That was it.
Cool. Zume.
Right. I know China more than here. I'm trying to understand how to talk to farmers, and maybe I drive my car like you as well to the field. So I suppose in China, in our sector, customer-wise, it'd be farmers, which we talk about like a high-value growers, and also the government. But whoever you talk to as a technology company and also as a females, right? So they think, okay, you can't get your feet dirty, you can't go to the field, whatever you developed, that one not going to be applicable. Biotech, should be in pharmaceutical, or animals or something. So what I did is, in order to really develop your product, can be adopted by the market, right? So you do really need to talk to the end customer, which is our farmers in China. So when we have our couple trials last year, so what I did to take my team, put our bellies on and go to the farm and to talk to the farmers. And first of all, they come to you actually, okay, what are you doing with my crop, right? So and then you have to really put down your feet and talk about, listen, we come here to learn the crop growth, to learn what the problem with the soil, and you respect to them. In China, that's the way you really respect to these farmers, and they really tell you what the truth, how you actually develop your product to meet their purposes. And another thing is in our sectors, right? So we are solving the problem in the chain of food safety from the ground. So we talk about pollutant or natural existing heavy metals in our rock that can impact the food safety. So when we talk to these farmers, you really have to, progress gentle. Also the government, you actually talk, you're trying to give them a solution to help them with the problems. And they actually, will collaborate with you and respect you and really give you the deep down information that you actually can help you develop product, help you develop the market as well. So I'm saying trust with the farmers and with the government. You're trying to help in this sector.
And Mariana, talk to your technology today. Like the benefits of it, what you're doing today, and you got your pitch here to all these U.S. farmers waiting to hear what you have to say. So.
Okay, so we have different customer segments, and for farmers mostly we are bringing operational improvements to save energy, water, and increase yield by understanding real-time crop needs. So we give very precise irrigation recommendations, understanding what is going on in each of the plots and delivering it in a very easy interface where you just can see all the plots and know what has to be done. We also help them to understand planning operations on weather forecasts and historical data. So like, let's say this year we have a record yield. We help them to track down what happened. It's like, how was that different? Did it rain as it rained in the average historical? Was the temperature different? What products did you use? How much have you irrigated, and isolate that so we can continue bring knowledge from that data that we are collecting, but also learning from the farmers around you to make your results better. So if your neighbors are having a disease burst, it's very likely that it will come out to your own farm, so we can use that knowledge to learn. We also support food industries like Coca-Cola to understand their supply chain. So we monitor different farms for them for juice production and help them increase sustainability and understand better. Like, we were having a lack of passion fruit in Brazil, and we didn't know what was going on, and we figured it was because we had a disease that the farmers didn't know how to tackle, so they just gave up producing. So now we are tracking and rebuilding that supply chain with them and identifying the benchmarks between them to generate this insight and consistent supply. And last, we are also working like now with Syngenta and Monsanto to understand and link them to the farmers on product efficiency. So how well are these products working in your field, and what products they should be building to work better in your environmental. So if we measure, we can improve, right? So what we are doing is we are measuring, we're analyzing that data with a lot of computing technology and linking those partners together so we can learn and improve.
Excellent. And Miku, talk a little bit about your solution today. I know you're obviously working with a lot of players here in the Valley in the fresh industry. Yeah. I want to talk specifically about what you're doing and what you're trying to improve.
So with AgShift, what we are looking at is how does the industry go about assessing quality of food, fresh produce in specific terms. And what we found is that I want all of you to imagine the life of a strawberry box for a few seconds. So as it leaves the farm, and by the time it makes it to the consumer store where you buy it, there is this whole supply chain. So it moves through many different points in the supply chain, and at different points it needs to be assessed for the quality, for the grade, for safety, for compliance. That process today is pretty manual and labor intensive. But more importantly, anytime you subject a human eye to something, it's not going to be objective. If I gave you all a box of strawberry and asked you what's the average color distribution of that strawberry, we can say with 90% confidence the results won't be consistent. But now that inconsistency is causing big brands massive losses because it results in rejections of maybe a fairly good shipment just because in that chain, somewhere, somehow, whoever was doing the inspection didn't do it consistently compared to the other points. So the big deal here is that you want to remove the subjectivity, or at least you want to augment what the eye and the human brain does with this mega powerful thing which we are calling deep learning or machine learning, right? So that's where we are. What we are doing is we are automating this whole process of fresh produce assessment by applying the same technology which goes into self-driving cars. If that technology, if you are able to trust it with your life, with the cars on the street, there is no reason why that cannot be applied to automate the assessment of fresh produce. And the big deal here for me implicitly is that how I started when I said I grew up where there was food scarcity, and here this is a way to reduce food wastage, because when there are fewer rejections, then there is less waste, right? So that's the implicit goal which we are driving for, but that's the product. And we go and tell customers, if you can trust with self-driving cars, trust that I'm able to use that to grade strawberries and raspberries. Just trust us on that. We are the geeks from the valley. We know how to make this work, right? Just help us understanding the supply chain and we will bring the two together. We just challenge them openly because it's there, right? See, if you went 2 years back, if you went 3 years back, as a technology, we were not there. So much innovation had not happened in deep learning, in machine learning. If you look at how much is going in that space, how many billions of dollars and minds are tackling that problem, we just want to piggyback on that and bring something really unique to food industry. That's our goal.
So food safety is a big challenge and issue for the world and many farmers, and I know specifically in China, it's a particular challenge. And talk to me a little bit about your technology, Zume, and what you're doing, and talk to me about like the specific improvements or before and after picture in terms of what you have been able to deliver to Chinese farmers and growers.
Right. Okay. This is a very good question. So I probably list the problem first and see what we do. So basically, let's talk about China first, right? There's 20% of the arable land is polluted. And so the government just have to have action to set it up to tackle this problem. But the law is only coming out last week, and the government got incentives to tackle this problem because the food safety is on the top priority for government to solve out this problem, for stability of the government and also to keep the middle class to really kind of believe the government and support them. So this is a really, really big political issues, and they have a huge amount of money to inject in this government fund for solving this problem. And so we developed technologies and initially only target China, so we set up the trials. So with our current trials, and we actually get paid from the trials, so that's just tell you how urgent they want to solve this problem, and then how they believe the sustainable solution like biologicals to do that. So initially what they do is they actually pump into tens of 100 tons of chemicals into the arable land and hope to stabilize heavy metal, the pollution, not going to be absorbed by the crops. And then now they know that's not a good way. It's costly, it's not practical, and also it causes second pollution as well. So they know that have to be biological solution to do that. So with our trials now, we have a 55% reduction. And what this means, in the south of China, the rice production, 50% of them exceed the food safety level, and we can bring majority of this rice to comply with the food safety. And so that's where our now key market, and we think our technology can impact a lot for the row crop, basically for the food safety of all people there. And I don't know, many people here realize that articles or publications and globally, including Forbes, Fortune, Wall Street, independent, from Europe, all reported that pollutant in our soil, for example, heavy metal arsenic in baby rice and just last month, Europe published 78% of baby rice exceed the legal level, so basically illegal arsenic into it. And here as well, the FAO reported the problem as well. So we think our technology can be applied globally to bring down the pollutant in our food and to increase the food safety and healthier people. And we thought that's impactful.
And Mariana, as an international Brazilian LATAM, company, and I know you've traveled. You were in Berlin this year. You were in Switzerland. You were in Israel. You've kind of covered the globe here, working with lots of big corporations. Talk to me about, obviously you're breaking into the US market. It's an important market for you. Talk to me about a platform like this. What Forbes are doing here today, what the city of Salinas, the Thrive program. How does that help you enter a market like the United States?
I think first point is awareness, right? So we are all on the same page that it's important to increase yield. It's important to do that in a sustainable way, that everyone is looking to have the both goes together. So that's the first thing to change the mindset, because we still have one hand from the society pressing very much on the sustainability side, but totally ignoring all the challenges that farmers have in their own day. So they just want the ideal scenario. And we still have, from the other hand, some farmers who are just not caring for the environment and just for the results. So how do we together see that scenario, understand the problem, and create opportunities to connect and open space for companies like us to try and to enter those markets. So of course every new market is a new specific problem, even if they all look the same. All farmers around the world, they have the same problem. They all want integrated solutions. They want it to be easy. They want it to be accessible, but we need to adapt. So having this opportunity to speak to these people and have people open to try us, to help us to adapt to this market, I think it's essential.
Great. And Zumi, for you coming from China, Ireland, here, a platform like this, what has been the benefit and what have you seen so far?
Well, this is from my bottom of my heart, right? This is absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about China market and the global recognition, right? So in China, yes, we did put our foot into the dirt, and we proved ourselves, and the government and the customer believe we can provide the sustainable solution to solve their problem. And they know our team. We're based in Ireland, and Ireland regarded as Silicon Valley of Europe. And our team is really high-end in the microbes and for bioremediation and agriculture application. So that's all good. However, Ireland is small, right? China is big. So in China, what they talk about everything, top technology, Silicon Valley, right? And the media, Forbes. And Salinas, we look at it, all the the high value of vegetable, and then a company like us be selected through a Silicon Valley-based Thrive program, presenting in the Forbes AgTech, and this just gave our customer, all the government, the top belief think this company definitely can solve our problem. So for that, last 3 months, we get boosting our customers and also the government is supporting fundings for us to tackle this problem. So it's absolutely amazing achievement, and after being in these programs, and it really can bring us to the higher level of technology recognition and the market.
And Miku, you're a local girl. You're 1 hour up the street in Santa Clara. I mean, you obviously have no problems coming down here.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, it's really weird because 1 hour away, you have best of talent, you have best innovations in technology, which is Silicon Valley, but there's such a massive gap between there and here or Central Valley. When you say ag tech, tech is there, ag is here. You need so much more, so many more platforms like Forbes, so many more initiatives like Thrive to really bridge that gap. For all practical purposes, it's not very different than the challenges which they are facing. And it's surprising because you would think that you can bridge that gap. There's just so much happening in terms of technology innovation if you really want to solve these issues, access to innovation is so close, but for technologists sitting in Silicon Valley, access to agriculture expertise is very, very hard to get, right? It's like, it's just not there. That forum for agriculture specifically is not there in Silicon Valley. And it works always. For example, we are, like I said, we are using the same technology, the same machine learning and deep learning technology, which is what every engineer, every technologist wants to work on today. But the minute you say you are doing it in ag, it becomes a different conversation. Because of the lack of not so much interest, because it's the same technology, so it should be equally interesting, but it's not, because agriculture, it just doesn't come up as a number one or number two, and we are facing that right now. Being in the valley, being in the heart of it, riding on the wave of technology, it's still hard to hire people because it's agriculture. And I think it's an easy, pun intended, it's a low-hanging fruit to, for us collectively, people here, to bridge that gap and come up with ways to blend it, because then you will get all the solutions which we want to have to solve the problems facing us 2 decades from now.
Well, I want to thank the ladies here. I've got to know the ladies for the last 6 months, and they've become friends, and it's the end of our program, so we're going to keep in touch, and hopefully you'll keep in touch and meet and hopefully do business with these great entrepreneurs. Congratulations, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.